So in the last video, I talked about why your motivation disappears halfway through your weight loss journey. And today, I'm taking the next step because once that initial motivation fades, the reason most people struggle is very simple. Fat loss is their only goal. And sadly, fat loss goals eventually fall apart. So today, I want to explain why that happens and how to shift your goals into something that actually lasts for the long haul. See, fat loss goals are finish line goals. They're temporary, right? They're deadline driven and they rely on urgency, okay? And sure, urgency is great for a spark, but it's terrible for sustainability because fat loss goals have no identity or values behind them. They don't change as you change. They don't give you purpose once you start feeling better. And fat loss goals are impossible to sustain emotionally once that initial pain of feeling bad in your own skin is gone, right? So basically, once you lose that first 20 to 30 pounds, you're no longer miserable, okay? That original goal you had does not have the same emotional weight anymore. And the truth is, now your brain doesn't care about losing 20 more pounds. It cares about how you feel right now, which is much better. You feel better in your clothes, right? People have said stuff. Because the goal was not about losing weight. It was about feeling better. Because fat loss is heavily tied to emotion. When you're frustrated, exhausted, uncomfortable, and desperate, fat loss feels urgent. It feels necessary. And sometimes can be easy at that point. But once those feelings improve, the fear-based motivation fades. And fat loss goals don't have anything left to hold on to. And this is usually where people start to slip. They have trouble on the weekends. They start missing their workouts. They don't track as often. They start eating mindlessly again, right? Saying things like, hey, I'm just going to start over on Monday. Not because the goal actually changed, but because you changed, right? You feel better. So the emotional anchor behind your fat loss goal is gone. And this is because fat loss goals are outcome based. They're scale driven and they don't tell you what kind of person you're becoming. It's just a number. Health goals are identity and value based, right? They help you become someone who eats well, trains consistently, sleeps better, manages stress, and that identity keeps going even when your motivation starts to drop. And it's important because this is something you build on for the rest of your life. You're not going to continue to lose weight for the rest of your life unless you gain it back, right? So I'm going to give you some examples of the differences between fat loss goals and health-based goals. A fat loss goal could be, I want to lose 20 pounds, whereas the health goal could be, I want to get stronger so I can move without pain. Another fat loss goal could be, I want to fit 2 sizes smaller. But the health goal could be, I want to age better and stay active for my kids. Which one has more weight there, right? Another health goal or fat loss goal could be, I want the scale just to go down. But the health goal could be, I want to be the person who gets 7 hours of sleep and lifts 3 days a week so I feel better and I'm healthier for the long haul. The results come from who you are, not from the number you chase, and that's important. And here's the cool part. When you shift to health goals, the habits naturally become smaller, more manageable, and more sustainable. When your goal is fat loss, you feel like you need big changes. You got to cut carbs, cut sugar, stop eating out, track everything, because your brain thinks big results require big actions, and little small things, they're not going to do anything, right? Like if you just eat an extra serving of vegetable every day, you're not going to just see weight loss. So when you put weight loss as your primary goal, you don't do it. Okay. If it's a small goals, small adjustments, you do big adjustments. So if you're focusing on health, you might be okay with just focusing on 1 serving of extra vegetables a day or getting an extra 1,000 steps a day, going to bed 15 minutes earlier, maybe drinking some more water. These habits don't feel big enough to move the scale, but they're big enough to move your lifestyle over time. And remember, the results you keep come from the habits you keep, and that is so important. So if you can't sustain it, you're not going to keep the weight loss anyways. And sadly, when fat loss is your only goal, you always feel like you're either on track or off track. With health, the goal is not on or off. You're just living. You're not restarting constantly. You're not in that all or nothing cycle. You're not feeling like you fail every time you have a bad weekend. You're not, losing weight and then regaining it. Health goals absorb the ups and downs, they remove the guilt, and they keep you consistent even when life gets hard. And that's important. So you might ask, how do you do this? Well, step one, you need to ask yourself, who do I want to become? Okay? Not how much do you want to weigh? Step two, list 3 outcomes you care about. Think energy, strength, mobility, confidence, aging well, right? Step three, build small habits that support those outcomes. You know, one per week. Don't try to change everything all at once. Step four, accept that the second half of your journey requires a different mindset than the first half of your journey. You can't rely on urgency anymore at this point. This shift right here is what separates people who finish their journey from people who repeat the same 20 pounds over and over. So now that you understand why fat loss goals fall apart and why you need new goals for the second half of your journey, the next video is going to be all about habits, because long-term success comes from building habits that are almost impossible to break. In part 3, I'm going to break down exactly how to create sustainable habits, how to stack them, and how to build an identity that keeps the weight off for good. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss part 3. And if this video helped, make sure you share it. Thanks a lot and have a good day.